Before I begin, I would just like to thank you for allowing me to speak on behalf of Zainab Bangira. In her early life, she is from Yanabana, Sierra Leone, which is a country in South Africa. Her father left the family at an early age because with his beliefs, he wanted to have her married off by the age of 12, and her mother refused to let that happen. So he left the family, and that means that the mother was left to support both herself and Miss Bangira by herself, and to make the money to make ends meet, she sold food, firewood, and fabric, and anything that she could come across. And because of her hard work, she was able to put her through school so she could receive an education, which that education kind of changed her destiny, as the New York Times puts it, because if she had not received the education, she definitely would not be where she is today. And that led to a job working for the United Nations. At the United Nations, she works as the Secretary General's Special Envoy for Sexual Violence and Conflict. And so pretty much her job is to document cases that involve sexual violence during war times. And after a trip to Syria, however, though, she was kind of shook. She couldn't just leave it at documenting. The young girls that she talked to, that she heard about, there was one case where one of them had been sold by her parents, and she had been raped and married over 15 times in 1 year. So she was shocked at the lack of cost or punishment for the men carrying out these crimes. And so that kind of led her to go a step further in her job. One quote is, "The religion I grew up in doesn't ask you to sell women in the market. Women are being taken 3 centuries back." So that pretty much means the government and the punishments have not caught up with the times. Men should be punished for the sexual violence that they are carrying out. So that is what led her to become an activist. So far, her achievements have included, she has helped to change the law so that survivors can safely testify in courts. One way that she has kind of done this, she led a group of women who had been abused to the steps of a courthouse, and they did demonstrations until their point was made, and so that helped. She became her country's foreign minister shortly after, and then shortly after she became the foreign minister, Ban Ki-moon named her his special representative in 2012. The problem is improving very slowly for the survivors, and this is because the medical people and investigators don't know how to properly collect evidence, so it's hard to make a case. But no individual suspected of these war crimes has been fully convicted in the International Criminal Court. But thanks to her efforts, in 2013, over 130 soldiers were convicted. It just didn't go as far as the International Criminal Court, so they didn't receive quite as much punishment as she would have liked. She has been able to convince the Democratic Republic of Congo to hold soldiers accountable for their actions. So survivors are starting to be recognized and compensated for the things that they have been through. Some current movements that she's working on is changing the laws in Jordan and Lebanon that restrict work for refugees. They have some laws in place that make it so that it's hard to find work, and that leads to more poverty, which it makes them more susceptible to abuse and sexual violence. She's also been attempting to negotiate in South Sudan, and she wants to negotiate to convict military leaders and soldiers, but they're not quite there yet, so she's been working on that. And she wants to reduce sexual assault and rape in Syrian detention centers. that is a place that a lot of women are being abused in. When talking to one of the women in these centers, her husband had been murdered in front of her and her 16-year-old son, and so this led her to say the crimes committed by whoever are not going to go unpunished. So she couldn't promise that like something was going to happen, but this definitely introduces the fact that she's not going to stop where she is. She's going to keep working to make a change. So her job in the beginning was only to document these cases. She didn't have to do anything besides that. But her faith and moral beliefs have led her to go above and beyond to make a difference in these victims' lives. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
No questions?
Yes.
What country was she first part of when she interviewed on?
She's from South Africa.
Thank you.